Welcome all viewers. We are back here with the paper operating system, but with the topic preemptive scheduling and non-preemptive scheduling. What are these? Let's discuss in detail. Just wait. So after reading this lesson and listening to this video, after watching this video, you will be able to understand the concept of scheduling. CPU scheduling, I mean. How the processes are scheduled and processes are run by the CPU, and their types as well, and there are the two type of scheduling philosophies are there, that is a preemptive and non-preemptive scheduling. So before going through with that, what is non-preemptive and preemptive scheduling, in order to understand these two concepts, you have to look into these four conditions. These four conditions are what in which in these situations, in these circumstances, like CPU is worked. So in order to understand this, let's have a look on these four situations. So that CPU scheduling decisions, how these CPU scheduling decisions takes place. So they takes place under the following four circumstances, or you can say four situations are there. So when the CPU scheduler select from among the processes in ready queue and allocate a CPU to one of them, so queue may be ordered in different ways, like there are the various ways are there. So CPU scheduling first situation is there when the switches when the process switches from running to waiting state. What is the running to waiting state? Already I think you have been cleared about that. We already discussed in detail in the previous classes. Like running state, which is in the currently execution state of the process, and waiting state is that state in which the process is waiting to complete some input or output of data from that IO devices. So that is the first situation in which the process switches from running state to the waiting state. So now let us see on the second situation. That second situation is that situation in which the CPU switches from running state to the ready state. Running state again is the current state, and ready state is that state which is in the ready queue, which is ready to execute. But when it will happen, that switches from running to waiting state happens when some processes require some input or output. Say for example, some processes are going on and they require some inputting of data. Say for example, आपको 2 + 2 4 कराना है. So आप keyboard से 2 + 2 type कर रहे हैं. So it requires some inputting ना. So at the time CPU send this process into the waiting queue. Okay, आपको input output चाहिए, आप waiting line में लगिए और line में लगने के बाद आप wait करिए. And I give you the example as well for this running to waiting state. Like say for example, if you are depositing the your forms on the window, in the college window, and you are in the queue and process is going on one you are depositing your form. But at one point of time, there is one girl who is stuck with the window. Say for example, he forgot to stick her photograph on the form. So faculty clerk asked her, okay, you have not pasted your photo, just pasted it, or you say for example you have not signed the form, so just signed it. Say if there is a long queue is there on the window and last data, say for example. So in that case, what will happen? That faculty clerk asked to that girl to please be aside so that you can sign that, you can paste your photograph on that space, so that by the meantime that faculty clerk cannot be he cannot be afford to be wait, because there is long queue now outside the window. So at the time he asked to that girl to okay, just be aside and just paste that photo and just sign that form. By the meantime I will take another call. So that next girl now come onto the window and deposit her form. So that is the meaning of running to the waiting state. ऑलरेडी रनिंग था प्रोसेस, ऑलरेडी उसका विंडो पे नंबर आया हुआ था, लेकिन फोटो पेस्ट करने के लिए, साइन करने के लिए उसको थोड़ी देर वेट करना पड़ा, तो विंडो के एक साइड पे वो खड़ी हो गई है. दैट इज द वेटिंग स्टेट. स्विचेस फ्रॉम रनिंग टू रेडी स्टेट. Running to ready state in the sense it happens when some interrupt occurs. When some interrupt occurs, like process is already running, you know, uske haath mein hold hai processor CPU ka, that is already running, that is not in the waiting state, but still that is you know, due to some interrupt, or you can say some high priority program come, that running state, you know, that process goes from running state to the ready state. We will see you know, in detail that type of, you know, when swapping we will discuss in the later on classes. Then we will discuss like when high priority program comes, so low priority program goes back and then high priority program first execute. So that is only depend on the priority of the programs. Like आप मिनिस्टर साहब से मिलने जाते हैं, आपका नंबर आता है, आप लाइन में लगे हैं, लेकिन कई बार ऐसा होता है कुछ अप्रोच आती है, उसको पहले एंटरटेन किया जाता है और उसका नंबर पहले आ जाता है, चाहे आपका नंबर आने ही वाला था और आप चले गए, आप रूट के अंदर भी चले गए इनफैक्ट. Okay, so you have had a word with the minister as well, but suppose करिए और कोई बड़ा you know उनसे ऊपर कोई उनका मिनिस्टर मिलने आ जाता है बड़ा, या कोई और बड़ी अप्रोच वाला आदमी आता है, सो आपसे कहा जाता है ओके प्लीज मैडम जस्ट वेट 5 minutes आउटसाइड यू नो दिस रूम, एंड you are already in the running state, but due to some interruption you have to wait. So आपके पास, लेकिन प्रोसेसर का आपके पास यू नो अपॉइंटमेंट था, आप वहाँ रनिंग स्टेट में भी थे, बट क्योंकि हाई प्रायोरिटी कोई आता है, कोई हाई अप्रोच वाला आता है, दैट मीन्स in that case that you have to, you know, go back and that person is handled like this. So at that process, when the process is in running state, but it doesn't require any input or output, in that case that process hold the CPU, and that process goes from running state to the ready state. Third state is that state in which, you know, CPU switches from waiting state to the ready state. This is very clear. Waiting state is the input output state whenever the process you know, completes input or output. So it goes again to the ready queue, as I show you in the previous video as well. There is a waiting queue now. So waiting queue is that queue in which all the processes who are needed for the, you know, inputting or outputting of data, and all they are, as soon as they are completed with the input or output you know, some function, they goes back in the ready queue. So that is the third situation. And fourth situation is that situation when a process terminates. Process end हो गया, काम खत्म हो गया, queue से बाहर आ जाएगा. This already we discussed in this, you know, lecture of the process states initially. So these are the four situations on the basis of that scheduling decisions takes place. Now, there is the situation 1 and 4. So there is no choice in terms of scheduling. Because as soon as, see, in the first situation, in the fourth situation, as soon as the process terminates, as soon as the process, you know, finishes, it exits the queue. So definitely the process has to, you know, enter into the, you know, running state, and CPU has to take another process. जो भी next है वो आएगा ही आएगा. That is no choice for the CPU. In the first situation, when it switches from running to waiting state, it has no choice. Running state में already process चल रहा है, that is demand for input output. Okay, that say for example if there is second number of processes there, it is already in the, you know, running state. Say for example if process 2 is in the running state, okay, कोई बात नहीं, that process जो है goes from you know, running state to the waiting state. Say for example in this ready queue, if there are, you know, next process is, you know, third number process is there, okay, that third number process comes to the, you know, CPU and start execution. So there is no choice for the CPU, उसको लेना ही पड़ेगा जो भी next process आएगा. Now, in the conditions, you know, so in these situations 1 and 4, there is no choice in terms of scheduling. As a new process, you know, if it exists in the ready queue, must be selected for the execution. There is no choice for the, you know, processor. And like in situations 2 and 3, there is a choice. So when CPU has no choice to select, then that situation is known as a non-preemptive situation. You know, that situation is known as a non-preemptive situation. But when these two situations are there, when you know, second and third situation is there, there is a choice for the CPU to which process is to be selected. how is this case? This case is like this. Say for example, if process is from running to ready. Already, say for example, the process 1 and 4 are there. Okay, so fourth number of process is running and due to some interrupt, it will goes to the directly ready queue. जैसा मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया, लाइक मिनिस्टर साहब से आप मिलने गए हैं, आपका नंबर आ चुका है, आप ही का नंबर था, बट ड्यू टू सम हाई प्रायोरिटी प्रोग्राम और सपोज करिए पीए आता है, उसको कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट पेपर साइन कराना है, 2 मिनट का बात करना है, आपको बाहर 2 मिनट के लिए भेजा जाता है. अगेन पीए जब बाहर चला जाता है तो आपको वापस अंदर लेना चाहिए. ओके, बट देयर में भी केस कि वो आपका नंबर ना लेकर के जो अगेन एक रेडी क्यू में लगा हुआ है, जो पहले से प्रोसेस आया हुआ है, उसको दिया जाए. So that is the choice between you and the another person which is already, you know, in the ready queue, which is waiting for, you know, her number to talk to the minister. So it is just like आप रनिंग में थे, आप बात कर रहे थे, चूंकि पीए आ गया, उसको एक लेटर साइन कराना था, आपको बाहर किया गया 2 मिनट के लिए आया, और जब पीए बाहर चला जाता है अपना काम करने के बाद, so the concept is this, like आपको पहले बुलाना चाहिए था, but there is a choice between you and the another person who is waiting outside the queue. So again प्रोसेसर के पास इस केस में चॉइस हो गया कि कौन से प्रोसेस को लेना है. Switches from waiting to ready queue in the sense as soon as the input output operation is completed by that particular process, that goes to the ready queue. Say for example, if there is another process is there who are waiting you know, for that state, say for example that process to, you know, go to the waiting state, and then after completion of this it will come to the ready queue. Now processor has a choice. Say for example, if there is another process is also there, say process number 4 is there, so processor has a choice which process comes first, like the process which already, you know, completed input or output and should be executed, or the process which is already in the current state. So like it is just like that कि जो मैंने उसमें आपको पहले एग्जांपल दिया कि विंडो पे आपको फोटो पेस्ट करना था और आपने जो है साइन कर दिए, साइन करने के बाद आप वेटिंग से वापस रेडी क्यू में आ गए, लाइक वापस आप लाइन में लग गए. सो फैकल्टी क्लर्क हैज अ चॉइस कि आपका पहले नंबर लेना चाहिए या जो इस बच्ची का पहले नंबर आपके बाद है, अब इमीडिएटली आने वाला है, उसको पहले हैंडल करना चाहिए. सो अगेन ही हैज अ चॉइस. सो इन सेकंड सिचुएशन एंड थर्ड सिचुएशन देयर आर द, you know, choices with the CPU, therefore it is known as a preemptive. It means that until and unless the process is finished, जब तक process खत्म नहीं हो जाएगा, the new process cannot be come. That is the meaning of non-preemptive. But preemptive is what, whenever a high priority program reaches to the, you know, processor, it demands for the CPU. So low priority program, you know, shifted back, and then high priority program executes, and it you know, store its states in the PCB, that is the process control block, and again start executing from the resume situation. So that situation is known as a preemptive, क्योंकि इसमें काम खत्म नहीं हुआ है, प्रोसेस ऑलरेडी एग्जीक्यूशन में है, प्रोसेस अभी रन कर रहा है, फिनिश नहीं हुआ है. So when we are, you know, interrupting in between, the processes are running, so that process is known as a preemptive. And when the processes are finished and then next process will execute, that you know, scheduling technique is known as a non-preemptive. So there are the various type of, you know, situations are there, and operating systems are there which are using this, you know, preemptive and non-preemptive situation. And you know, that preemptive scheduling is also, you know, helpful in systems like real-time systems, like railway reservation system and the banking system or hotel reservation system is there. So very high priority, you know, processes are there, and they need the processor with immediately, you know, failure of which may cause a disaster. Like say for example, railway reservation system hai, we can't afford to wait for a longer time to complete that process. सीट का स्टेटस अभी दिखाना है, कितनी सीटें उस ट्रेन में बची हैं. So this is a real time example, and that is the online, you know, system as well. So in these type of, you know, scenarios, that type of scheduling technique is very much helpful for, you know, understanding of this, you know, and processes, and for helpful, you know, for real time solving the real time, you know, solutions, providing the real time solutions as well. So I hope this is clear to you all what is the preemptive and non-preemptive scheduling by this, you know, lecture. In the later on classes, in the next class, you know, we will discuss about the types of preemptive and non-preemptive scheduling. So thank you for watching this video, and keep watching. Thank you.